1+1 musical comic Tim Minchin has taken London by storm. Now he performs on home ground. And novelist Alex Miller's incredible journey. Hello, I'm Jane Hutchin. Welcome to the program. With his wild hair, panda eyes and bare feet, Tim Minchin could have stepped off the pages of a Roald Dahl book. Dahl's children's novel, Matilda, was recently staged by England's Royal Shakespeare Company, and Tim Minchin was given the honour of composing the score. In a few weeks, he's commanding a 55-piece orchestra spectacular in Australia, Tim Minchin versus the Orchestra, in which the country's finest musicians play off against his linguistic acrobatics. Rachel Brown caught up with him during the holidays in London between frantic rehearsals for Matilda with child actors and musicians.
Tim Minchin, thank you very much for joining us on 1+1.
Hello, Rachel.
Now, you've helped compose the score for Matilda. What was it like to work on material that you say you were bathed in when you were young?
Yeah, I was literally bathed in it. We didn't have water. It was amazing. I started my whole music career because of theatre, because I was someone who had faith in me, asked me to write some music for a version of Love's Labour's Lost when I was 17. And so for me, getting asked to write music for songs for Matilda was this crazy coming the full circle, but obviously now at the RSC and on a big scale. And it being Roald Dahl was, I don't know, I wasn't sort of sentimental about my relationship with Dahl. It's just part of your childhood, isn't it? Just it seems pretty ubiquitous in Australian childhood, certainly in England as well. And I finally met Lissy Dahl, Roald's widow, the other night at the opening, and she just gave me this huge hug and said this is the first time anything of Roald's has been adapted. What she said perfectly was her word, but I'm sure she was just high on the after dinner vol au vents, but it was incredibly satisfying to have her say that, and nothing else really matters after that.
Just because you find that life's not berries doesn't mean that you just have to grin and bear it. If you always take it on the chin and wear it, nothing will change.
And was it odd bedfellows, an irreverent Australian comic, and the lofty Royal Shakespeare Company?
Well, they are lofty, but they have the incredibly rare ability to take risks on commissions. So the RSC put on lots of Shakespeare, lots of new Russian plays, and they do incredible stuff. But they also commission musicals. I mean, most famously, Les Miserables 25 years ago started at the RSC. Hopefully Matilda will follow a similar path.
And there was a lot of serendipity too. I understand you'd asked to work on Matilda 10 years prior.
Yeah, for some reason I thought it would make it's a perfect story for a musical little kid who seeks revenge by doing silly tricks and eventually figures out she can move stuff with her eyes, and saves her teacher and then gets saved back. It's a beautiful arc. And I wrote to them and said, who am I allowed to write a musical based on Matilda? And they sort of said, we can send us your score and we'll consider it. And I was like, score? What's a score? and so it drifted away, like many of my mad ideas. But it remains the only time I've ever written an email or any communication to an estate about rights. So if you believed in fate, you'd believe that was it, I suppose.
And do you have high hopes for Matilda? Could we see it on the West End perhaps one day?
I hope so. The reaction's really strong, and I'd be pretty sad if it didn't go further. I hope it ends up on the West End and Broadway and Sydney and Melbourne and, Kazakhstan, wherever they want it.
But nobody else is gonna put it right for me. Nobody but me is gonna change my story. Sometimes you have to be a little bit naughty.
And there's a little bit of Roald Dahl in you, the crazy red hair, eyeliner, no shoes.
Hair's not red, racist.
Was that all part of your... Has that grown with you? Was that with you at the start of your cabaret career?
Well, no, it sort of landed. I started doing these solo shows that I called cabaret initially, and that ended up being called comedy, simply because people kept laughing at me. And around 2003, and then early 2005, I kind of landed on the look and the persona that I have now, and that was kind of involved deciding I was only going to play grand pianos, which was very brave at the time, stupid, ostentatious or something. But I thought, I've got to do this on grand pianos. If I play a keyboard, it's totally wrong. And I got my hair straightened and started wearing a bit of makeup. But I'd been doing the bare feet thing for years because it just makes you feel, does lots of stuff. Makes you feel relaxed on stage, I suppose.
And how much hairspray does it take, or how little washes does it take to get your hair? What wash are we on
What
now?
is it? Once I've washed it, I need to put a bit of mud or something in it, and then loads of hairspray. But then I just don't wash it. I'll wash it maybe once a week, 10 days, sometimes fortnight. So it's about build up of layers of grime. The more skank it has in it, the better it looks. I hate having clean hair. You shouldn't wash your hair. You should dread it.
Well, now you're performing with a 55-piece orchestra, Tim Minchin versus the orchestra. Yeah. How do you stop the music from overtaking the comedy, or vice versa?
I think I don't worry about it. I try not to worry about it at all. In fact, this show, I've worked very, very hard to make it musically independent of the comedy, musically overwhelming. I've really tried to make a show that will fill these stupid rooms we're playing, and the orchestra having a ball, and it's not earth-shattering in imagination, but it's certainly stylistically really broad, and it's funny and people are laughing, but there are 58 musicians on stage, and we're seeing how sort of macro you can take these jokes. Pain I can do, I can have a dark side too, I can have a dark side too. Yippee! I mean, there's a 7.5 minute rhapsody to cheese, and it just goes through all these different movements and lighting states, and it's completely absurd, and these incredible players in an arena, the size of Rod Laver, absolutely committed with every bit of their training, and every, sound engineers from Holland, and massive stacks of speakers, and stupid me from Perth singing about cheese, and just the clash of the commitment to this in juxtaposition with the stupidity is what I'm interested in, and I think it's making people laugh. If not laugh, they're going, really? Why?
And there's one song, I'm in a Cage, which is a paradox on arena comedy. Where do you get your ideas from?
Well, on that particular one, I went to the O2 Arena, which is where the biggest gig on my tour was last night, and I saw Alicia Keys, and she came on stage in a cage, and I thought, I'm going to do that. And so I wrote a song called I'm in a Cage that just goes, I'm in a cage, can you see me, I'm in a cage. I've just come to the stage where I won't go on stage until some punk has paid for a cage. And then suddenly I break into this song about how crap comedy is in arenas.
My ego's the only thing you can see clearly from the back, but I'm quite famous now.
There's all these comedians doing stand-up in these huge rooms, and it's really just about ego and money, a little bit. And so I just wanted to go, yep, it's about ego and money. But of course, when you get 57 musos on stage, there's no money left. So it's just about ego.
You've been described as the Richard Dawkins of comedy. You're an atheist and a rationalist, and I know one of your songs, the Pope song, on clerical child sex abuse, and used the F word more than 80 times, I counted. Yeah. Is comedy the right or a right forum to address tough, controversial subjects like this?
I'm sure it is. I think comedy is the right genre to... The whole point is that there's absolutely no limit. There oughtn't be any limit to what you talk about. That doesn't mean everyone has to watch everything or like it. And actually the Pope song's an interesting one, because the Pope song's actually about sacredness and what we hold sacred and whether it should be held sacred, and whether the fact that some people hold the Pope or the Quran or whatever sacred, does that mean we all have to hold it sacred? And the risk of holding something sacred in the face of things like child abuse is, and having it immune from criticism. And so that song's about... the reason it uses so many swear words is to address this idea that actually, no, you don't get to tell me that your guy's sacred. You know, bugger him. Actually, I'm a comedian because I'm interested in belief and faith and all the ideas I talk about, and writing these satirical songs happened to be the way I felt most comfortable expressing it.
I only read one book, but it's a good book, don't you know? I act the way I act because the good book tells me so. If I want to know how to be good, it's to the good book that I go, because the good book is a book and it is good and it's a book.
You know, when matters of faith without evidence are out of debates about abortion and completely devoid, out of debates about euthanasia, education, and you know, homosexual rights. Once they're totally out of there, then yeah, they would be an easy target, because we would just be bullying them. But them, but no, it's not an easy target. It's incredibly important that people keep standing up and going, bollocks, sorry, not good enough. You can't tell me that your book's special and say my gay friend's not allowed to get married.
I love Jesus. Sing out loud. I love... Feels good? Yeah. Here we go. I hate faggots. Yeah.
I have Christian friends who say, well, you wouldn't make that joke about Islam, and you go, what, are you proud? Are you proud that you've got a religion that doesn't have the history of reprisals? And is that, so, you know, yeah, we're scared of that. Yeah, you're scared to do a cartoon. Should you be? No, that's absurd, but we are.
It's not all doom and gloom. You wrote a beautiful song, White Wine in the Sun, about spending Christmas time with your family. Has fatherhood mellowed you somewhat?
I'm not, you know, when I'm being